and I was sleeping in Melbourne Airport, and I was like, maybe I'm not living the dream.
Smashing things to bits is just fun.
There's your niche, just triggering people.
Absolute panic and despair.
Someone needs to be steaming in from, my end.
Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time of the day it is you are listening or watching with me, Jack Brooks.
And me, Katherine Sciver-Brunt.
And as always, this podcast is brought to you in partnership with The Cricketer and the PCA. I just wanted to roll something past you. I played a PCA Legends game last Friday, my first one, which is when they pick loads of retired old, tends to be ex-England or internationals, to play a club bid for them and pay for these old battered players to turn up and play a charity game. And I've got roped into it last week up in Edgeworth in Bolton. I don't know if you've heard of that.
Nope.
Cricket club. But I went up there after a long morning in the car. I managed to get through one over for a couple of paces, faced about 12 balls. About 500 or 600 people there watching. It was actually quite a good day in the sunshine up in Bolton. But some big names like Adam Hollyoak were playing, and Ryan Sy opened the bowling with Ryan Sy-Bottom, so we rolled back the years.
Lovely.
I just got a question. Would you ever be keen to play in any of those games? Are you officially done from ever playing cricket?
Well, the PCA did actually email me and asking me what size clothing I was, and I was like, this is a bit rogue.
Close
why you ask? And they were like, oh, we just want to get you, some kit sizes for PCA Legends, and then also for the MCC had contacted me as well for my kit, and I'm like, no, you don't understand. I'm not playing cricket anymore, like ever, like not 1 pace, 2 pace, 3 pace. No, batting 11. No,
that's it.
Nah, I was wheeling myself pretty much in a wheelchair at the end of my career. I don't need to be, embarrassing myself and being in a wheelchair at the same time.
I can't tell you how little I did on Friday.
I know, but I just can't do it. I just can't.
No, fair enough. Just sat on the boundary, just Ailes taking the mick out of those who are playing.
It does sound like a good crack, to be honest, and all the lads say like it's a good day out. But honestly, when I said I was done, I was like done.
I'll hold you to that. I'll wait for you to when you play your first MCC match. I'll be straight on to you.
I'm happy to umpire. I think I'm be quite good.
There we go. There's your niche, just triggering people for fun. See you later.
I'll stick to the stuff I've been doing, which is obviously a lot of commentary. And funny, actually, one of my recent commentary gigs, just recent, during the England-New Zealand series, I bought a house on auction.
There we go. You've bought another property.
I know, and someone was like, oh, what would you have done if it came up the bit where you bid, like, whilst you were on? Because it could easily have been that. And I was like, oh, yeah, didn't really think that far. But it just so happened to perfectly align itself with not being on. And so I got the keys for that the other day. That was pretty cool.
Where is it?
In Warwickshire, obviously.
It's in Warwickshire, is it? Cheap as chips, is it?
Cheap as chips. I tell some of my mates from the south, because most of my mates are from the south, how much I pay for the houses that I do, and they're just like, what? What? Do they exist? Did you get a roof with that? And I'm just like, this is it, guys. You just don't know. So yeah, I got cheap as chips. And then I like to do the rip outs.
Yeah, you said this before. You're full on, aren't you?
Everybody thinks I'm a bit mental, but it's like something I really enjoy. I really don't mind doing it, and I actually enjoy it. But I do. Oh yeah, but it's not about that. It's just like my thing. It's my smashing things to bits is just fun,
Our guest today is into his property, so you'll be able to chat to him about.
Oh yeah, let's guess
your passions for property. We can move on to him as well, because I've been helping prep Surrey for the Metro Bank comp, and I'll be with them for the rest of the competition. And this guy has had an unbelievable Metro Bank last season, and at the start to this season, he started with a big 100 and an 80 odd. He bottled another 100 last week. Hit a long up to mid wicket, but we'll take the piss out of him for that in a minute. It is a good friend of mine, a former teammate at Somerset, and somebody with a really interesting background and story in pro cricket. So I can't wait to speak to him and get under the lid with Somerset batsman Andy Umeed.
Hi guys.
Hello.
Okay.
How are we?
Great, mate. Thanks for coming on, bud. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks. And just in I can rebut what you said there. Sometimes you just get a good ball jack. Do you know what I mean? Sometimes there's just nothing you can do about it.
I haven't had a chance to message you about it yet. I did look at your dismissal on MV Play like I do with most of my mates or when you're going through the games. And I was like, how did he get out? Usually when he gets in, he doesn't give it away. And I saw this long up and I was like, oh, he probably got caught on the boundary. Oh, no. He's nailed it straight to mid wicket and you just drop your head straight away, didn't you? As if to say, what have I done?
Yeah, had a good laugh about it on the bus with Leachy. He kept watching it on replay, sat right next to me, couldn't stop laughing.
Great teammate. Excellent, mate. Just a little reminder for our listeners, you can send in any feedback or questions by using the hashtag under the lid or email us at hello@underthelid.co.uk. Now, Brunty, what have you got for us on Andy?
What have I got? I've got a lot. We've got a lot. So, prepare yourself. So we'll talk about your early days as a cricketer, obviously, because that would be a good place to start. And growing up in Scotland, no less. This is our second Scottish fellow cricketer on the show, so welcome. And then moving down to Birmingham. So, firstly, how was the cricketing scene in Scotland back when you were, young, and was it actually even popular in Scotland, or did you have to just chase your passion?
I mean, it didn't feel that unpopular. It was probably not until I moved down to Birmingham I realised that there wasn't actually that much of a cricketing scene going on. I mean, my dad loves his cricket, so and he's from Pakistan, so he's just crazy about it. So he was kind of pushed me to be involved in cricket and kind of love cricket. So he was kind of my coach, and we always trained together. So from that point of view, cricket was a big part of my childhood, but it wasn't necessarily um, a huge thing in Scotland. I mean, there were a few good clubs in the west of Scotland, um, around Glasgow, and the East League was probably stronger at that time as well. But other than that, there's not a huge amount.
Yeah, I mean, you say that. Your parents or your dad was the one that got you into cricket then? Any siblings?
I have an older sister, and she had no interest in cricket.
No interest in sport whatsoever.
No, she was sporty. She was a good swimmer, good at athletics, but she's a lot smarter than me, um, and subsequently has a PhD. And I'm just trying to hit a ball with a bat. So yeah, she was a lot brighter. So she kind of went down that route. But she actually came on Friday. To That was the first game she'd seen, professional game of mine she'd seen, because she's married to a Brazilian, lives in Brazil, so she's been abroad for the last few years. So yeah, that was cool. My niece was there as well, so they really enjoyed that day.
That's awesome, mate. I know, obviously knowing you quite well and the influence your particularly dad's had in your cricket career. How influential was he, and how helpful was he as you growing up as a youngster in men's cricket as well?
Yeah, he was, to be honest, it was a tough relationship because he pushed me very hard. But in hindsight now, I wouldn't sort of be, I guess, a player I am, sort of have the hunger and I guess resilience in a lot of ways if he hadn't. So, but that was tough when I was young because he really wanted me to do well, as every parent does. But he was obviously, being the coach, he was there every day to see when I didn't do well, and which seemed like a lot more days than I did do well when your dad's looking over your shoulder. But but yeah, in hindsight, he instilled a lot of good values in me. My work ethic. Gave me a real sense of that I didn't really deserve anything. It was, everything I'd get was what I'd earned. And if I wasn't the first name on a team sheet, if the coaches had any doubt in their mind that you hadn't sort of done your job as a player, so things like that, I guess, kind of old school sort of traditional kind of values in a sporting sense, that he was really big on that. So that's sort of stood me in good stead.
So you made it to Birmingham, Warwickshire. Mighty Bears. That is right, isn't it? The Bears.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got it right. Thank God. It in the youth system, obviously. What lessons did you learn back then before starting your pro career?
I think it was a big shock to begin with. I spent a little bit of time at Durham, like playing under 14s and stuff. A lot of the younger, the better sort of young Scottish lads would go down and trial at Durham, like under 13s and 14s and stuff. So I'd played a few. I'd been around the county a little bit, but when I went down to trial when I was 16 down at Warwickshire, it was a completely different sort of environment. Obviously, Edgbaston being a huge stadium, getting a tour of the stadium, seeing the pros train, guys like Ian Bell, Jonathan Trott, seeing these guys in the flesh was completely different. So immediately, I was sort of hooked to that, feeling that environment, and I guess that's sort of where I probably started to learn more. I guess technically, like fundamentals of red ball batting. My dad had always tried to make sure I was technically sound as a player, but red ball and longer form cricket um, isn't so big. In Scotland, it's more white ball and one day stuff. So experiencing that and seeing all the big players and just being around that whole environment was really cool, because you do at times get to bowl at the pros, and you're just around it, you're involved with it. So that was a real sort of eye opener. And then I guess it kind of made it easier when I played second team cricket, was around pros every day, and then getting signed. It felt like a lot easier transition um, for that exposure.
Yeah, so fast forward a little bit. When you realised you're going to be leaving Warwickshire, what was that process like? Just for listeners or pros out there that don't know.
Um, Absolute panic and despair. It was very mixed, because that year I'd actually done quite well in sort of context and in hindsight. I'd still scored quite a few runs in the second team, but they just signed a few more players, and we got relegated the year before, so we were in Div 2 for that summer, and guys were just churning runs out left, right, and centre. Belly and Trotty was still playing as well, so there was kind of just no way into the team. And I remember Giles sitting me down and being like, "Look, we're not going to offer you a contract." Um, and he said, "I think you'll be the first person that I don't offer a contract to that actually goes on to do well." Which at the time I was just like, it's not really very helpful. Um, but I guess he was trying to be nice. But yeah, it was tough, because obviously it had been a dream all the way through as being a kid to be a professional cricketer, and then doing all the work to get in, doing okay for a young player, and then just kind of having everything taken away. Felt like it was just taken away um, from me. Was actually a really sort of tough tough time, and I was probably in denial about how tough that was, and I was kind of acting like everything was all right, and I'll just go away to Australia for winter and trial next year, and everything will be all right.
Was your dad or your family supportive in that, or did he give you a good hiding? Don't know. My dad would have been like, "Rrrr."
Yeah, I think a bit of both. Like, I think by that stage, it's the kind of the usual sort of things you get told. Well, the things I got told by my dad were already sort of internalized in my own head. So I kind of already had that voice and that noise in my own head. And then everybody obviously tries to be supportive, but you can kind of feel that they're sort of panicking for you as well. They don't want it to sort of disappear, everything you've worked hard for. They've invested a lot in you as well, and they just kind of want to see you do well, for them a little bit as much as you, which is understandable. But yeah, so I mean, it was he probably he definitely was not happy when I told him I wasn't coming back to the UK to play cricket ever again. That was definitely a lot more difficult conversation.
I was going to say, mate, yeah, that moves us on to the sort of next phase of your journey, if you like. Certainly not your career at the time. So that panic and despair, and no longer a professional cricketer. Obviously, there is a a happy ending, if you like, because you now are back in the game, churning, doing very well, and you've had a bit of a journey, which is fantastic. We'll get onto that in a second. But that sort of second phase that took you out into Australia, you spent a winter, but did you not end up spending like 12 to 18 months basically growing your hair, surfing, traveling a van, hanging around with European backpackers, and just maybe not ever going to play cricket again? Like, can you explain to Katherine, the listeners, what,
Yeah,
what your head was at with all that?
you just exposed the thing that people don't really know much about me now, so that answer's gone out the window. No, yeah, pretty much exactly as you described. So I got released from Warwickshire. That last month of the year, I was trying to get released early so I could go and trial and stuff. And it was taking it was a bit of a process because nobody wanted me on loan. And then I was trying to get released earlier. And then I went on trial to Derby and I got 100 in both innings for them in the second team. And they said, we've got no money, come back next year. So that was kind of the final nail in the coffin. So when I went out to Australia, I was like not really enjoying cricket with the club I was at, didn't really do well. And eventually I just went, I'm not going back to the UK, bought a van, traveled the East Coast, like you said, grew my hair, started surfing, all the cliches you can think of. Didn't wear shoes. Started to learn to play guitar, and yeah, just sort of travelled and thought I was living the dream. Well, I was living the dream at that time, and yeah. So then I did another season out in Australia, the winter after having lived in Spain that summer back in Europe. So yeah, I just didn't play any cricket. I kind of only went back out to Australia to sort of play cricket just so I could get back out to Australia. I did okay that season, but wasn't really that invested in it. It was just mainly surfing and traveling and stuff. Um, yeah, and then COVID hit, and I was stuck in sleeping in Melbourne Airport, and I was like, maybe I'm not living the dream.
Oh my God.
I tell you what, though, mate, that whole journey through Oz, Spain, bit of club cricket, sleeping in an airport, not knowing where your life was going. Does the word perspective still hit you every day when you're playing cricket? Or because I know I'm playing in the environment with you, and I didn't have the same background or journey as you, but I obviously came to the game late and have had that perspective about really appreciating playing sport for a living and actually making the most of it, not faffing around, but still trying to enjoy it rather than getting too down with all the downs that come with it. But how big, because of your journey, is perspective?
Yeah, I think huge. I think it's probably the fundamental shift really for me. I think it's a difficult thing to sort of explain to people or give people that feeling if you've not sort of lived it and seen it yourself. But I remember in my last summer at Warwickshire, like fielding in a second team game, having not like got runs again or nicked off again, just thinking like, oh, I could be doing this, I could be doing that, I could be doing so many things that are better than this. And then I sort of went to do all those things that I thought were like amazing and the things I wanted to do. And they were amazing and really fun, but also I did kind of feel like I was retired at 23 years old. You know, you go to another beach and it's like, it's a beach, you know, and it's beautiful. You go for a swim and then it's like, what do you do the rest of the day? You know, after a while, it kind of, especially somebody who was like quite driven and just always had like a goal in mind and was going for something, it just sort of made me realize that the grass is not always greener. And actually, I really enjoy the process of working towards something, having a goal, sort of having a purpose, and kind of actually grinding at something. That was, I actually enjoyed that. And there are difficult things in it, but you know, it could always be worse, you know, especially after that, having worked like a sort of normal office kind of job, you sort of realize like, yeah, the stability and it's quite normal and you don't really have those days where you get out and you feel bad about yourself, but you know, you don't have the highs of like winning games for your team, playing in front of a crowd and, you know, playing in front of your family and, you know, being with the lads stuff.
Right, it's epic. That's such a cool story, and hopefully it inspires or does make people sit up and notice who are listening, saying that, well, that what can be achieved. So then fast forward a little bit. we'll move on to your SACA journey, your South Asian Cricket Academy, which you very kindly helped set me up into, and I've been working in their setup since beginning of last winter. How big a role have they played in getting you back into first class cricket, and how good is that initiative?
Yeah, it's a great initiative. I mean, the proof is in the pudding, right? The players that have come off that and been signed. For me, it was it's just sort of a right place, right time sort of thing. Brownie, I'd spoken to Brownie on and off during the time I was away traveling and stuff, and he was like, "We're thinking about setting this up. Would you be interested and stuff?" And kind of, I've been traveling. I was kind of, oh, I'm not sure if I'll be back, when I'll be back, kind of thing. And then during COVID, when I was back, he was like, "Look, when things start up again next year, cricket and stuff, this is going to be, we're going to have the green light for this. Like, are you keen? I want you to come and captain, and if you don't want to play, like, can you coach and stuff?" And I was at that point, I played that little bit of a season where we had like 3 or 4 games after COVID, and it was in August, and we played like 3 or 4 games in a club season. So I was already back playing cricket, and I was like, you know what, I've got the bug for it again. Like, let's give it a crack. So having not really trained much that winter, put in a few performances against counties, Yorkshire being one, which I eventually trialled with. And then from actually just badgering Greg Kenn as the second team coach at Somerset, just messaging him loads, and he left me on red loads of times. But one day he just replied and said, "Seen you've been playing, like, we've got a game next week. Do you fancy it?" And I was like, "Yeah, sure." So did well in that game, and then obviously ended up at Somerset. But without SACA and those opportunities to do it against second teams, to do it against counties, to be seen and noticed again, I think it's one thing, people saying, there's a decent player down there, or he's a decent player, but when coaches and opposition see it in real life, it's a different thing. So I think just having that exposure and that sort of ability to people just see, there's something there, something to work with, is huge. Obviously now guys are in there in the winter, and they're getting contact time with coaches and stuff like that, which is amazing as well. He's done an amazing job.
It's well, for those who don't know anything about it or don't realise what goes into it, it's basically an extremely professional setup, particularly through the winter with the training you get. They basically, if you commit to it, you can get moved to like an apartment or a clubhouse and live with other lads who are involved, aren't you? And you're there and get given a gym program. You've got access to decent coaching, and you live the life of a cricketer. And I think you get given coaching work around it, don't you? Particularly up at the Rashid Cricket Centre up in Bradford. And it's basically just laid out for you, really. If you really commit to it and you get lucky with your ability and your chances, you can actually make it. And I think Hisham Khan, who's just signed for Worcester for the Metro, he's the 10th graduate off the SACA scheme in, was it 3 years now it's been run? You were the first one, were you?
I was second. I was trialing, and Kashif was signed just before me. So Kashif Ali was the first. But yeah, 2021, I want to say.
Yeah.
No, sorry, 2022.
Yeah. It's a fantastic scheme, mate. It's and there's still, having seen them this year as well, there's still maybe, I reckon, 3 or 4 lads there who are certainly close to or going to get contracts or should be contracted. And that, yeah, so that long may it continue. Now it is South Asian Heritage Month currently.
I think I have a pretty unique perspective because obviously, for those people who don't know, my mom is Scottish, white, born and brought up, maiden name Robertson. So I've got that complete sort of opposite ends of the spectrum. My dad was born, brought up in Pakistan. So it's interesting because I feel like when I was in Pakistan and the times I've been there, I'm too British for the Pakistanis. So I feel like probably I'm more British than Pakistani. But I mean, definitely culturally, like a lot of my friends in Birmingham, a lot of people who are involved in cricket, obviously from South Asian backgrounds. So there is always that kind of connection. I think sort of the biggest thing is the passion for cricket. And I guess that sort of the outlook of it is kind of like a way of life, and it's sort of like an art form rather than just like a sport you play. That sort of feeling, that's sort of been instilled to me and transferred sort of to me. So yeah, I guess that's what it means to me.
Anyway, let's move on to your time in Somerset, because that's obviously now fantastic. And how things have like compared to when you were back in Warwickshire.
Yeah, obviously Somerset's Taunton's very different to Birmingham. I mean, I've loved my time down in Taunton. I think I was a bit surprised at first how small it is. Obviously, people say it's small, but how small it is. But I've actually grown to really enjoy it, and kind of found Birmingham a bit too busy when I go back now. It's nice how it's quite personal down here,
He's
especially.
country. He's gone country.
Yeah, he's gone country now. I'll be shearing
Isn't
sheep
that
next.
what does Cola Cadmore? He went from there to, and he said, because we were like, how did you find the change? Did you think it was a bit, from Leeds? And he was like, no, I really enjoy it now.
He loves it.
He loves it. So yeah, it doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, I mean, firstly, like the cricket, the ground it's an amazing ground, amazing atmosphere. The club is in the center of the town pretty much, and there's not really much other sport around, so everything's just cricket focused to begin with. People are really friendly. They're really excited for you to be there and sort of doing well, and um, just sort of the kids, like when you're in a cafe, they'll be like, "Oh, that's such and such." Like, go say hi to him. Da da da. So it's just like a really nice, friendly environment. The lads spend loads of time together because there's not a huge amount to do other than hang out with each other, go for coffee and stuff like that. Um, and personally, it's been nice to sort of kind of focus on the cricket with no distractions. For the first sort of year, I was up and down between Birmingham, but this sort of last 12 months I've been in the flats at the ground, so I've just kind of been focused on cricket training. And yeah, I guess for some people that wouldn't be great, living at the ground, but for me it's actually been nice to just kind of focus on the cricket, settle in here, and yeah, really enjoying it.
Well, seems to be a winning formula anyway. Get them all out of the city centres and get them knuckled down.
Suits some people.
Well, it suited Cola. He didn't drink, did he?
But yeah, well, Pepsi suits it. Is there anyone in particular you're missing down in Taunton the last sort of?
Nobody's left in the last year. Definitely not. No, obviously, Jack, yourself. Obviously, I'm missing yourself. And it was great to see you at T20 finals day the other day, rolling back the year. Yourself, Steve Davies, missing him. James Hildreth as well. Obviously, only spent a short period of time with Hildy, but he's just a great man and such a good attitude towards the game. And obviously, he was an unbelievable player. And his sort of aura around the club, same as Trez, just they're like legends, sort of gods walking amongst the.
Well, he's got a stand named after him. Truscottet's got a pavilion. We've had a joke with Brunty on here actually. What Brunty's going to get named after at Headingley because she hasn't got anything yet.
Still waiting.
Now that you're on the committee or whatever it is your role is, there now surely you could just right. First of all, that gate, that stand, that bar is now named after
Did somebody not get a floodlight?
A floodlight.
I don't want a floodlight.
I know, but who was it that got a floodlight? Did somebody not have a floodlight? Like
Alex Hartley. At Lancs, yeah, I'm pretty sure. But she petitioned for that. She put it on Twitter. I don't want that. I want, I need that to be. I say petition. She didn't put a petition out there. She just said something on, social media. But I would quite like to just, do that out of the kindness of your heart. Yorkshire, that'd be nice. Someone's got to steam in. Someone needs to be steaming in from, my end.
I'll do it. I'll help you out.
It is an end's pretty big deal, isn't it? There's only two, so there's a bit of competition there. Anyway, less about ends and more about your 172 not out last year against Derbyshire. Was that a bit of a game changer in your career following your break?
I think that competition probably was last year. I think
400s, wasn't it?
three last year in the comp, three last
3
year.
and 1 this year.
It was funny because we were joking. The lads were joking about it this year as well. It sounds like you never get positive feedback from your mates. They are positive at times, but they were joking because last year I got naught in both warm up games, Cornwall and Devon, and then I got 4 and nicked off, and then got caught down the leg side the first 2 games of the comp. So they were saying again this year I did again, same thing again, ran myself out, and
Oh no. At least they couldn't get you out.
yeah, at least you can get me out, and at least the lads have a sense of humor about it. Um, but yeah, last year's comp, I think it was because I think I'd always been trying to sort of break the mold and break the sort of label of being just a sort of traditional red ball player. The label had kind of just descended upon me through no choice of my own, and and just kind of had stuck. And it was just like it'd been pretty difficult to shake. And honestly, it was something that really irked me when I was like away traveling, and was thinking if I never play cricket again, like this is like really gonna annoy me that I didn't get to do it like my way, and like the kind of person and personality I am like just didn't come out on the pitch at all. So it was quite satisfying last year to sort of not only put together a sort of stack of runs in a tournament, but to do it kind of in different ways at different times, and sort of finally kind of put myself out there and sort of show in a first team competition, what I can actually do, and how I want to play. So yeah, I think it definitely was. And I mean, a lot said about the 1 day competition and 100 sort of split and stuff like that. But if there wasn't that opportunity for me with guys going away for the 100, then I wouldn't have been able to sort of kickstart things and kind of get the ball rolling. And subsequently was picked in the red ball off the back of that and stuff. So yeah, I mean, it definitely, probably looking back now, was a bit of a turning point. I think personally in terms of confidence as well. You feel you can do it, but it's just nice to sort of have those runs and have those positive memories to kind of draw upon.
It must have impacted positively on your batting because you've been running down the wicket, bombing Alan Dolby in a Champo game, first over of the match, haven't you?
That's also spending time with Pepsi.
Yeah, opening the batting with Kola Cadmore, trying to out hit each other in a championship game is.
I bet you can't hit you above 6.
Well, it's great, so you get the opportunity, mate. And obviously, the Somerset's batting in 2020 is legendary, isn't it? And trying to get into that top 6 is very, very difficult. But the way you play now and have changed. Well, I say changed your game. You always had that game, but you arguably hit as big a sixes as anyone in that squad now. I've seen it firsthand. So, is it quite frustrating that you've not had a go in the T20 yet, knowing you've got all this sort of form and sort of power behind you now?
I think if you'd asked me last year, or maybe even the start of the year, I probably would have said yes. But I don't know if I'm getting older or what it is, but I feel like the lads are winning, and I'm learning so much just being around them. It's that kind of thing. I was on the list to go on loan and would love to be playing T20 cricket, obviously, but at the same time, I really want to play for Somerset, and I want to win games for Somerset, and I want Somerset to win. So if they win the T20 again, for me, it's like the best team that they think is out there at the time should be the best team. I'd love to play, and I will do everything to try and get in that team. But it's just as exciting watching Somerset, win. So I guess there is an element of frustration, but I do think the right time will sort of come, for me. And if I'd been at another club, I don't know if I would have had the white ball exposure that I've had at this club. Spending time with Cadmore, Banton, Smead, all these guys, like even Tom Abel and Sean Dixon, just everyone. The way yourself, the way cricket is when you come and play at Taunton, the way white ball cricket is when you come and play at Taunton, it's completely different to really any other ground in the country. It's probably the most similar to kind of like the IPL cricket that we've seen this year, is like just balls flying everywhere. The bowlers know like they can't miss, and when you go to other grounds, everybody's skills are really sharp. So I think I've been very fortunate, in a way to be at Taunton. So yeah, I'm just hopefully my time comes at some time and at the right time. But yeah, I think I'm patient, and I'm happy how much I'm sort of learning.
Well, it sounds like your irks have been what pushed you on to do that in the first place, and then you've also, when an opportunity has presented itself, you've seized it so far. So that's pretty much the way it goes, isn't it? People always get injured. One of my best friends, Beth Langston, she played for England for a few years, and then got dropped after winning a World Cup, and then she moved to play with me at Yorkshire, just to have a pal open the bowling with her. I retired, she carried on opening bowling, and then she did her ACL, ruptured her ACL bowling, horrendous, in the 100, and then had 2 years out with loads of injuries, and just like no confidence whatsoever. And just like that, after 2 years and just so much doubt, and you can imagine how much rehab and how that is. Like, just played a game, got a sixfer, first game back, got a sixfer, and then off the back of that, got a 100 contract. So it just happens like that. It's just like opportunity, isn't it? There's always people that either get injured or just drop out for some reason, or just don't get given a contract. But I have no doubt an opportunity will arise for you, like it has been, because it just seems like things just keep sort of, you've followed a path and it works out, and it's great. I love it. It feels like everything's happened for a reason for you.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. And I think there's been times where I've maybe had opportunities or had conversations and thoughts and trying to, kind of force things. And then in hindsight, I look, if I'd taken that turn then, or if I'd gone to this club at that time, I wouldn't have been in the situation I am. So really kind of that being patient, and the thing is, as well as, if Somerset's, we're in the top four of the championship. We won the T20 last year. We're through to quarterfinals again this year. Like, they're a proper club with proper players. So if you want to be at a club like that, then you're going to have to put in performances consistently over a long period of time to really give people the confidence that if you are playing on finals day and it's your turn, that you can flick the switch and really do the business. So there's an element of that where when I look at it like that, which excites me, and I sort of see it as a big challenge and a lot of confidence in that. If there's some of the best white ball players and red ball players in the country playing at this club, and if the coaches think that you're one of the guys that should be starting, then they're right. That you get a lot of confidence in that. So I think that's definitely one way as well. Whenever younger lads have asked me what my perspective is on what they should be doing or how I look at things, it's always something I tell them that is. So one thing you'll get at Somerset is, you'll get honesty at where they think you are in terms of your cricket, and when you're ready, you'll know you're ready, because people have been around and seen a lot of cricketers come and go. So yeah, I think that's one thing I kind of hold on to as well.
Before we get on to your ventures off the field, which are very interesting as well, we'll quickly touch on your international career of Scotland. You made a debut this year. Remarkably, it's taken you this long to get picked by Scotland. Quickly sum up what it was like to represent Scotland, mate, the country of your birth, and who you grew up sort of watching, I guess, and living in.
I guess it was a weird sort of, it was a bizarre kind of feeling, because it felt like I'd never been away, but also I felt kind of old at the same time, because it was like 10 years. People saying, journalists asked me, it's 10 years since you last played for Scotland. I'm like, has it been 10 years? I don't feel old enough for it to have been 10 years. But yeah, it was 10 years. But then a lot of the guys I was playing with, I either played under 19s with or played Scotland A at some point with. So I knew most of the people really well. But I think yeah, it was pretty special. It felt very very satisfying again. Like I've said in other things, it was like feeling like I kind of righted a few wrongs that I had and sort of had gone full circle and kind of had been on this whole journey and coming out the other side um, to represent Scotland again and sort of full ODIs and hopefully a lot more in the future. So yeah, it was pretty special until I snapped my finger in half in the first game. Up until that moment, it was great.
Great. It was great until then.
Yeah, it was great.
You
up
got to
until then.
belt out the anthem, and then you went and snapped your finger, and then you came
I
out.
went to snap my finger. He was like, a couple of painkillers, try and get back on there.
I'm sure you'll be back in soon, mate, and they can't ignore your class for too long, hopefully. So good luck getting back into the Scottish setup, mate. But I'm excited to talk to you about your off-field ventures as well, which I'm not sure Brunty or our listeners will know too much about. So you're now a YouTube sensation as well, aren't you? You're documenting your cricketing journey on social format. I've seen a few Insta videos flying
you know
around.
how it is. I'm just multi-talented, multitasking, everything. This will definitely be going on there. So if you see this on Instagram, great. Please like.
Great. As long as it's exposure for under the lid, mate, we don't give
Yeah.
Yeah, talk to us about that, mate. What made you think I'm going to put myself and my cricket journey all over the internet?
Well,
Why not?
Exactly. Brand Umeed.
yeah, brand new me. To be honest, I wish, what actually started it was back in 2020 during COVID when I finally got back from Melbourne. I finally got back from Melbourne Airport, and I put on the backpackers group when I was in Melbourne Airport, like, is anybody in Melbourne that I can stay with? So I stayed with some randoms, some very kind, like, British and Australian girls had let me stay there, and then I got on the next flight. So when I eventually got home, don't look like that, Jack. when I eventually got home, when I eventually got home, um, I was just like, oh, I want to hit some balls, want to get back playing cricket. Like I had this thing, like I want to be a professional cricketer again. So obviously nothing's open. So there's a park across my road in Glasgow. So my dad was chuffed to bits, like got the old like bag of balls out the attic and like dusted off his sidearm. And so we went to the public park, which had like an astro like strip in sort of the middle of the field. So I was like, started, and I was like, okay, this is going to be day one of my journey back to professional cricket. So like, started like documenting it, and then I didn't continue it. So fast forward like 3 years, and I'd actually done it, and I was like gutted that I didn't document it from the start and didn't continue it. So I was like, right, another 3 years is going to go by, and you're not going to have done anything. So like, you just got to start now. So I spoke to like the people that I know who are kind of in that industry, social media marketing, whatever, and they sort of had talked me through some things like general direction I should head in, kind of the usual stuff, like narrative, what's kind of things you want to content you want to share, like da da da. And then I just sort of got cracking. And then when I broke, like we had a tour to Sri Lanka, and then I was going to Dubai with Scotland after, and I thought it's a perfect time. It'll be some interesting content. I'm kind of traveling, doing stuff. So that's kind of really where it started. I have since had a lot of stick for it on the pitch, which I was completely expecting, but I also do not care about at all, which I'm really happy about.
When you're making your millions from a Netflix documentary, mate, those people from Slip and the keeper and backward point will be crying into their cornflakes.
Yeah, I got the other day. Someone said, "Don't get too close; he might tag you." And that did make me chuckle.
Good man. I love that. Who said that?
I couldn't comment. Couldn't possibly comment.
Come on. What team?
It was a team we played recently. That's all I'm going to say. That's all I'm going to say.
Paul, we'll get him on here, mate. It might be one of our guests. You never know. So you've got all that. That's great. We can keep a lookout for that on your socials. And what about your property journey as well? Because Brunty's got her own little property business booming. It's slightly different to yours. Yours isn't hands-on, knocking walls down and rebuilding, is it? Talk to us about yours.
Yeah, so basically my thought process was like, right, during lockdown, I want to be a professional cricketer again. I've come back to UK, I'm back living at home, and I have absolutely no money to do anything, let alone go and become a professional cricketer again. I was like basically just Googling how can I make money and not have to be there. That was pretty much how it started. So then, like, started looking at like property stuff and like, yeah, property, and oh, that sounds interesting. Da 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 da. Started reading a bunch of books and like getting into it. And one of my friends who I'd known kind of through cricketing friends and who I lived with before in Birmingham, he had subsequently left his job as an engineer at Jaguar Land Rover and had started an Airbnb company. So he'd initially rented out one of his houses on Airbnb, and he'd just kind of gone from there. He'd even sold that house to raise finances to go and get other Airbnbs. So he was doing, he had like 20 odd or 30 properties by then, like rented, and was doing his Airbnb thing. And so when I went back to Birmingham to play club cricket, I got in touch with him and was like, look, can we have a chat? And I'm interested in this, da 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 da. And it seemed a lot more interesting than delivering sofas, which what I was doing when I went back to Birmingham. I was delivering sofas with another mate. So we're like 5 in the morning, driving to London, trying to fit these 3-seater sofas in tiny little terrace houses. And people like, the sofa before was way bigger and it fitted out the door. And we are just there like, sorry, you got to leave this on the doorstep. So I was doing that for a few months and I was like, right, I really need to get on this property stuff. So I went and met with him and chatted with him, and he was like, okay, but like I don't really have a role for you. Like I don't really know this and that, and we're mates, and like don't really want to fall out over stuff. And I was like, look, I'll work for free for the first month. If I'm a nuisance, like I'd rather you told me, and like I'll get out your way. So work for free for a month. Like had been doing quite a good job. And so he was like, yeah, cool. Like, let's like come on board, like start working in the business. So started working in the business. Then was responsible for business development as well as like managing the cleaning company, because we had so many apartments. We had our own cleaning company. So I was like doing that. And then just started adding apartments really through understanding how to business development and stuff. And then we landed eventually a pretty big contract with a developer to rent sort of 2 whole floors of a brand new building in Birmingham, right on Broad Street. It's right next to the furniture shop on Broad Street. So if you're ever going past, it's called the Mercian on Broad Street. So 2 of those floors are Airbnbs in there, Airbnb, booking.com, sort of like private stays. We don't have a huge amount of bookings through Airbnb now on that because it's more longer stay. They're kind of higher sort of spec apartments. But so we started there and we sort of eventually have ended up there. So that was how I kind of partnered with him eventually in the business, because, he had somebody full time just doing business development and growing the business. So he subsequently moved to Dubai and he's selling property there as well as the business that's running in Birmingham, which his younger brother manages here in Birmingham. So he's doing really well. And that's probably, if I hadn't, if cricket hadn't worked out, I probably would have tried to go down that route. But yeah, so that's kind of my journey in property and Airbnbs and stuff. And we have a few in Scotland that are running at the moment. So yeah, it's been pretty interesting.
Very interesting, mate. Very interesting. Buzzing off it. And you're going to be fine outside of cricket, mate. I wouldn't worry about. Some people when they get to the end of their careers or before are worrying about what they're doing. You ain't going to worry. And you won't be moving sofas around again either.
Yeah, I mean, the funny thing is though, in that it's like in hindsight, it's like probably going to be some of the funniest times I've had, with him, just like doing an overnight trip to Newcastle to deliver like 4 sofas and stopping everywhere down on the way in the country, delivering more random antique furniture and stuff like that. So at the time you think it's like a grind and it's, you want to be doing something else, but then you realize actually it's golden memories.
100%, mate. Good stories for your book later in life, or the Netflix doco, isn't it? We'll come back to you in a second, mate. We're just going to go through our PCA MVP update. The men's 100 MVP, currently being led by Sean Abbott from the Birmingham Phoenix. He started off very well with the ball. And in the One Day Cup, Mr. Umeed, you are third currently.
Yay!
After 180. And a Birmingham Bear leads the way at the time of recording, and Ed Barnard, obviously an all-rounder. They always do well in these events. And he actually won it last season as well.
Don't let it happen, Andy.
I did average 10 with the ball last year in this competition, and I only got to bowl in one game. So, Sean Dixon, if you're listening, I'm loose. I'm ready to bowl.
Always lose. Obviously, there's no women's cricket at the minute in terms of 50 over 3, 4, 5 day or T20. There's just the 100 going on. So in the women's 100, it's really tight, pretty level playing field. Every game seems to have somebody score a ton of runs. So we've got Sophia Dunkley is currently at the top, my mate Sophia, and she's got a lot to prove. So I'm really happy for her. And then she's followed very closely by Elise Perry, Alice Capsey, Heather Knight, and Nat Sciver-Brunt after her. I should know that she made 50 odd just now, a few hours ago.
Well batted, wifey.
In losing vein though, she needed 4 for the last ball, couldn't get it done. So yeah, 100's been great. Lots of stars cracking on. So let's get on to our cricket stat alert, shall we, Jack?
Yeah, our guest stat alert. We have a siren. There it is. Andrew Umeed. Brunty's got a stat for you.
You can't just do that.
No, I'll read it. It's no longer a record, and you did briefly mention it earlier, but you did hold a record for 6 years, and it was the slowest 100 in balls faced in the county championship. You got 100 against Lancashire in 2017. That took 331 balls.
You ruined that ball inside.
Well batted, but that has since been beaten by Dom Sibley, who got 100 against Kent last year. That took 368 deliveries. So you were in the record books for 6 years, mate. But like you said earlier, you wanted to get that off your back anyway, so you can forget about it now, can't you? Any reflections on that knock? How boring it was? Or
It's still commentators still bring it up on the stream anytime I do anything. Like I could be walking between overs from mid wicket to point. It's like, oh, there's Andy Umeed walking very slowly, just like his 100 in 2017. Actually, that was slow, but the way he's walking today, that is something else.
Yeah, poor Git. Well, famous for something, mate. It's better than nothing, isn't it?
Oh yeah, 100%. It's gives the lads a good laugh. We were having a good laugh on the bus the other day because I was telling Leachy, obviously, well, that game we were playing against Lancashire, Jimmy was playing and bowling very well. It was very difficult to hit, as I'm sure a lot of people found. And he obviously knows Jimmy very well. And so I was like telling him sort of what he was saying to me, going back and forward. And then it was, they were having a real laugh at my expense. But, yeah, so.
Everyone's got a Jimmy Jansen sledging story, I reckon, from their time playing against him.
Maybe not, because they didn't last long.
No prisoners. Well, yeah, usually it was just a few expletives or what he thought of you, and then off you pop.
Well, I think that's. I know people you say you're trying to get off your back, but lasting 330 odd deliveries against the best in the whole world ever. That's a pretty big achievement, if you ask me.
Right, moving on to the last round, our quiz, Andy, which is mainly cricket related, to be honest with you. It's not too taxing. And we do have a leaderboard, and hopefully there will be a prize. Could be golfing related, actually, for the winner. I know you're into your golf as well. So, like I said, they're generally cricket themed. Currently top of the leaderboard are joint Ollie Hannon-Dolby, Harry Brook and Katherine Bryce on 8. So you're going to get a minute, and it's going to be quick fire. If you don't know, just pass. Obviously, you can get more questions in. We're going to put your score up on the board. Every time you get one right, you get 1 run. We'll count you down 3, 2, 1 in a second. Are you ready?
Yes.
Excellent. 3, 2, 1, let's go. Where did you score your highest list A score?
Derbyshire.
Yes. Do you have more runs in first class or list A cricket?
First class.
Yeah. Who was player of the match in the final when Somerset won the Blast last year?
John Dixon.
No.
When was your perfect stay established? Quick.
2015.
No. Who did your Somerset teammate Tom Kohler-Cadmore represent in the IPL this year?
Rajasthan Royals.
Yes. What is the name of Somerset's mascot?
Stumpy.
Yes. How many centuries have you scored in List A cricket?
4.
You have 2 first-class wickets to your name. Name the batters you dismissed.
Joss Butler and Kyle Abbott.
Yes, boy. With whom did you open the innings on your Scotland first-class debut against Afghanistan in 2015?
I have absolutely no idea. Pass.
When did Somerset... I'll start so I'll finish. When did Somerset win their only one-day cup?
2019.
There we go. Umeed, he's flying up. 7, bruv.
Very respectable score, that.
Very good, mate. And there's a couple of tough ones in there. The opening batter on your Scotland debut, Hamish Gardner. Ring a bell?
Yes. He is
He's
Australian.
just texted me. He's not happy. He's not happy with you. He's just texted me.
He's actually the nicest bloke in the world. Originally Australian. Yeah.
The Somerset man of the match was Matt Henry, by the way.
Was Sean man of the match in the semi-final?
Potentially, yeah. He got 50 in both, didn't he? Good effort, mate. 7 is very good. You're going to be joint second with Charlie Dean. Very, very impressive, mate. And that is pretty much you on Under the Lid with us on episode 18, mate. Thanks so much for coming on. Really interesting, as always. Great to talk to you. Good luck for the rest of the Metro Bank and the Championship summer, mate. Hopefully you get some more silverware with Somerset. Hopefully I'll see you on the circuit, or at least for a social. We're overdue a few ciders, mate. So all the best, mate. Good luck.
Thank you very much for having me on. Blast.
Good luck. Get on the top of that MVP.
Yeah, I'll do my best.
Lovely. Another Somerset lad.
Yeah, wow. Sort of, yeah, I suppose. Naturalised now, isn't he? Great bloke. Really interesting and quite inspirational, actually, with the backstory. And having seen him up close, his work rate and how many balls he hits in training, like when he joined the club, he would, because he lived on the ground, he used to come and let himself in the indoor school before anyone even arrived. Like 7, 8 in the morning, he'll be setting the bowling machine or Merlin up, and just because you can do the self-feed, he would be having a net for an hour or two before anyone else got there. Like, he hits more balls than anyone at Somerset by a long way. And my experience of the game, like the 2 that I've seen hit more balls than anyone in training or extras, were always Joe Root and Harry Brook, 2 of the best batters in the world, certainly in this country. I'm not saying Andy's at that level, but he's certainly got to where he has because of his work rate, his hunger and his desire. And he's a very talented cricketer, to be honest, but a great guy to go with it. And I'm glad he's come on and told us his story.
Yeah, me too. Like, a lot of people should listen up and take heed of his actual life story. I like that he went away, that he thought, screw this, like, I'm just going to be a daft lad for a bit and live on a beach and go surf. I think that's cool because, like, he's just been a lad for a year and it's forced him to think in the way he actually wanted to go and not be always playing cricket wondering about whether he wanted to do that other bit. So I'm glad. I think his journey's perfect. And the fact that he's got his head switched on, you don't need to be smart. You just need to know the right people and be sometimes in the right place at the right time.
Case in point, don't need to be smart.
Here we go. It's not what you know, it's who you know.
If you're good at ripping kitchens out, you don't need to be smart.
Wise beyond our years.
What feedback have we got?
Well, I'm not sure we've got any feedback this week, but I've got some news. Like, it's obviously quite sad, Jack. We're coming to the end of the season nearly. I mean, can't believe I'm talking about it now because it is actually a couple of months away. But
yeah, there's a few more to go, but we've done so many of them, and we're certainly getting to almost the crux. Super September, aren't we? We get the 100 out of the way, and then it's Super September. It's a lot to play for, and then, like I said, we haven't got many episodes left. So,
well, that's it. We need people to let us know now. We've got the whole of the 100 comp, guys. if there's someone within that competition you want to listen to, let us know, because I'm pretty sure between us we could just force them
We could
to
get anyone in the world, I reckon. People are queuing up to get on here, so we can literally just handpick people on.
Don't ask for England Test players. 100 players only. Please.
We may get a surprise England Test player on again. We've had a couple on, obviously. We may be able to surprise with another one at some point in the next few weeks. But it'd be great to hear people's requests, boys or girls, and we'll see what we can do. As always, get in touch with us on social media with #underthelid, or you can email in at hello@underthelid.co.uk. I think that's about us for the week, isn't it? Another one down.
That's us. I'm ready for a decaf tea and get my head down.
Thanks everyone for getting on the lid with us. I hope you enjoyed it. Please tell a friend, please subscribe, please like, and we'll see you next week with another great guest. Thank you and good night.
Ciao for now.